Hi guys, welcome to Hack TV. On this video, I'm going to show you on how to install the Visual Studio IDE na isa sa mga sikat na development tool na ginagamit ng software developers ngayon. Let's begin by downloading the installer from their website, which is the visualstudio.microsoft.com. Just open any browser you want and type in the URL. On the website, makita natin dito yung mga different installers na available for download. We have the Visual Studio for Windows operating system, the Visual Studio Code for the lightweight code editor, and the Visual Studio for Mac operating system. Since I'm using Windows operating system on my computer, I'm going to download this one. On the drop-down, makita natin dito yung different editions na meron si Visual Studio IDE. We have the Community, the Professional, and the Enterprise. So I'm going to download the Community Edition because this is the open source and free edition ng Visual Studio IDE. It means wala tayong kailangan bayaran na licenses para magamit natin to. So a limitation nyo lang, this edition is primarily intended for academic purposes and small projects. So we cannot really use it for business purposes. To start the download, just click the link and the download should start automatically. So once done, we can now open the installer. And we'll just click continue. On the first time you run the installer on your computer, may mga components pa siya na kailangan ma-download from the internet. So antay lang natin siya matapos para automatically ma-open na yung installer natin. And we now have our installer open. The first thing you will notice here is that we are on the Workloads tab. They will let us decide kung ano yung mga components na may install on our computer by selecting a workload. The workloads are categorized based on their platforms. We have the web and cloud, desktop and mobile, gaming, and other toolsets. On choosing a workload, we need to know what type of application we want to develop and what platform we want to run it. I really like this installer because of its modularity. Unlike in the past, you need to install all the components of Visual Studio whether you will use it or not. With this, we will be able to save some space on our disk because we can just select the components that are only important on our development. Next, I will now select on the workload I want to use. Since I'm into ASP.NET and web development, I am choosing this one. On the right side, makikita natin dito yung installation details and all the components na may install on our computer are listed here. Before we proceed, let us check first the other tabs. On individual components, we can see here the list of available components na meron si Visual Studio. Some of it are already checked because of the workload we selected. If we know na meron pa tayong components na needed on our development that is outside of the workload we selected, we can just manually select it here to be included on the installation. On the language pack, if we prepare to use other language aside from English, we can also check it here to be included on the installation. On the last tab, we have the installation location. This is where we can set the installation path of the software. By default, may suggested directory na siya, but if we prefer not to use it, we can change it here. Below, makita natin yung disclaimer saying na we are agreeing to the licenses and terms of use of this edition. It is important to read the end-user agreement of the software before we use it. We can also see here the total space required to install all the components of the workloads we selected. Before we click the install button, we have the two options here for installation. We have the install while downloading and the download all then install. So I prefer this one para isang hintay na lang. Ayan, the download already started. So we will just wait for the download and the installation to be completed. Alright, so after almost an hour of downloading and installation, we are now one step away on using our Visual Studio IDE. So we need to restart our computer. Ayan, so we have an option to restart it now or later. Hindi natin magagamit si Visual Studio IDE hanggat di tayo nagre-restart, so we will click the restart button now. Ayan, so na-restart na natin yung PC natin and subukan naman natin ngayon buksan si Visual Studio IDE. Ayan, so first thing we need to do is to sign in. So kung wala pa tayong Microsoft account, we can click here to create one. So hindi natin magagamit si Community Edition hanggat di tayo nakapag-sign in. Oops. And so, it's getting ready. Antayin lang natin yung configuration ni Visual Studio. Ayan, so yan yung start page ni Visual Studio 2019. So, medyo nanibago ako kasi yung ginagamit ko usually is 2017. So, let's try to click here the continue without code para makita lang natin yung itsura ng Visual Studio IDE. So, ayan. So, na-open na yung Visual Studio IDE natin. So, we have successfully installed our Visual Studio IDE. Let's try now to create a simple project to test if the Visual Studio is working properly on our computer. Under File, click New, then click Project. Okay, just select the console app, then click Next. So here, type in the preferred project name, then click the Create button. So once the project has been created, makikita natin yung project structure on the Solution Explorer. We have the program.cs that will serve as our main program to our application. On the file itself, it already consisted one line of code to print the hello world. So let's try to add another line. Yan. So what I really like about this IDE is that it has many tools that will help us develop faster. One example of that is the Intellisense, which is the code completion component ng IDE. So when you are typing something, Intellisense will suggest keywords that may complete our line of code. So ayan. So these are the suggested keywords, and what we can do is to select what we may need. Ayan. So I'm going to build this up to see if there are any compilation issue. So it built successfully, then we can now run the application. And so that's our expected output, and we now have our first successful application using the Visual Studio. Ayan. So si Visual Studio is very complex IDE but easy to use. Just explore the available tools and find out kung ano yung mga tools na makakatulong sa development nyo. And that's the end of this video. If may mga questions kayo, just comment down below. If you like this video, just click like and subscribe button. You can also click the notification bell para ma-update kayo sa mga future videos ng channel na to. Thank you for watching and enjoy coding!